Hey, hi guys. So good morning. So today we are going to discuss on the agile estimations and planning, and we'll also understand why the planning is necessary in our project, our day-to-day project life, and why sometimes our planning gets failed. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So let's start. Okay. So the first thing we'll see the why planning. Why planning is necessary. The question is, can without planning can we execute our project? Okay, so what will happen if we don't plan properly, and if we don't plan at all, just we are moving in a very ad hoc manner? Okay, so if you are doing the plannings, okay, so just as so it's a reducing a risk, reducing uncertainty. Okay, we can supposing a better decision making. Okay, whether what you have to do, whether first of all you have to continue your work, and what at all dependency do you have. Okay, the what is the time, how much time it is going to become, what is the approx time this project is going to take to complete the task. And uh, and one more thing, it will establish some trust between our stakeholders, and they will have a confidence, yes, that we are going to complete this project in a given timeline. And it and at in a regular time interval we can convey the information. Okay, and now we'll see the why sometimes our planning gets fails. Okay, so even though what is so one more thing I would like to highlight, the difference between plan and planning, right? The plan is just actions you have described on the papers, and you haven't started executions. So the one thing I would like to say is, until unless you have not started executing your plannings, right, you will not come to know whether your plan is foolproof, or there is some shortcomings your comings, or perfectly your plan is proof. You will not come to know the pros and cons of your plans. So when you execute your plans, then you come to know, okay, yeah, this is a problem here, so here you have to adjust. Okay, and these are the dependency which we were not aware. So at least then you will come to know, and accordingly adjust your plans. Okay, so the first point what I would like to mention, that the planning is by activity rather than by the features. So most of the times we focus on the activity in the sense, the designing, architecture, requirement analysis, yeah, gathering, okay, designing. So those are the activities that, okay, development, testings, deployments, these are the activities. We cannot plan any project based on the activities. Okay, one month we are going to do the requirement gathering and designing, architecture designing. The next 2 months we are going to do the development and then testings. Okay, so if we are planning any project based on the activities, at last you are not sure, so whatever at last whatever you are delivering, you are not sure how much going to add value in your business. Okay, and that can cause a failure of your project. So is so we insist that rather than insisting on the activity based planning, we should we should focus on the features. Means focus on the features means that in this particular times how many features we are going to deliver it. Okay, one more thing, these activities are not independent. So activities obviously, so you are doing the developments not completely, they are, if you are doing anything based on activity, right, it's not an independent task. I mean, dev is complete not independent completely for testing, and testing is not complete independent task. Both are correlated. You are developing something, then tester is going to test it, and then again if you found some issues, again he'll report to developer, and again, so this is a very cyclic process, you can say. Okay, one more thing is the multi-causing cause further delays. Sometimes we do the multiple things, okay, and that can cause our project deliveries. Okay, One more thing, features are not developed, some are developed by, so in the backlogs, right, so we'll have a number of features, or maybe if we, okay, so we doesn't prioritize our task, okay, just we simply pick up the task and we start developing, okay, and that is not going to add a value because you don't know, because maybe sometimes you have suppose that we have a one feature, one, two, and three, or just take example of login page features, we have one feature, then the dashboard page, so you cannot pick up the dashboard features, the first priority, because until unless the login page is not developed, there is no meaning of dashboard page, okay, so we need to think, actually we need to prioritize our features, the backlogs items, and based on that we need to pick up the task, okay. We ignore uncertainties, there are a lot of things, interruptions occurs while doing projects, okay, so that we need to include in our estimations, okay, and definitely the estimation become commitment, so definitely you have to give some estimations, and that will become commitments, and all the team members will start working on that, okay. Okay, so now one the next things what I would like to discuss in, what is the properties of agile development, right? So nowadays, if you see each and every companies, the projects, they adopts the agile developments, and if you see the earlier rights, we used to follow the waterfall model, and the waterfall was good, but it was good when the project, but that when the project is we know the requirement properly, okay, and the people used to gather the requirements, and then development testings, and after the release cycle used to be around for 6 months, like that way, and that time it was not very much competitive market, okay, so it was fine for that time duration, the waterfall was fine, okay, but now if you'll see the so competitive market it is, and if you're applying the waterfall models, your business won't sustain in the markets, okay, there are so many competitions out there, so you have to release your features very early as soon as with the quality in the market, and that agile serve this purpose, that the process, and the process should be very fast, okay. So now I'm going to tell you some properties about the agiles. The agiles insist work as a one team, okay, all the product owners, the managers, the developer, testers, QAs, UIs, they should work as a one team. What do you mean by as a one team? Means they should have only one targets, okay, the target should be common, their goal should be common, okay. Work in short iterations, the iteration cycle should be very short, definitely I won't suggest the 1 week cycles, but definitely the 2 to 4 weeks cycle should be, okay. So at least within these two to 4 week cycles we'll come to know whether we have delivered the right features or not, and we can do the evaluations, or we can get a feedback from the client and stakeholders, okay. So and next point is delivering something each iteration. So in each iterations we should deliver some features. Focus on business priorities, we should prioritize our features based on business priorities, okay. Inspects and adopts, so do the inspections on each and every iterations and adopt it, okay. Now the next things what I'm going to discuss, how to estimate the size and story points, okay. Okay, so okay, so if I'll say, guys, please do the estimation of particular user story. Okay. Generally, what happens? You go, you read a user stories, and you do. You give. You understand something, and based some approx estimation you give. Okay. So take example of restaurants. If you're going to some restaurants, right, and maybe you have gone to the first times, right? So then you ask for the some glass of juice, you don't know what is the size of juice and what is your body, how much do you require, then that guys maybe ask, sir, do you need the small size, medium, or large glass? You will have some approx idea, the medium size glass how much juice they will have, in the small size how much will have. Based on your needs you say, okay, you need this medium. So So all these things are the approximates. It's not a very exact figures they provide. So they give some approx value. Okay, same things applies here. This to what the when you estimates the size of the user story, you go through the user stories, you give some approx story points. That's how many story points do you need to complete the your user stories. Okay, and that could be a small, big, or complex. Generally, estimating the user stories, I will say we use the planning poker techniques, and for the scalings we use a Fibonacci series, right? Okay, so now one more terms here counts is the velocity. The velocity is a measure of a team's rates progress per iteration. So per iterations, what is the velocity? The velocity of the team. Sorry, it means how many story points teams can deliver in each iteration. So okay, so that is called a velocity. Mhm. Now generally we do now we talk about the estimation estimating in ideal days. Okay, so most of the times we do the estimation in ideal days, right? But so there are two terms. One is the ideal days and second is the elapsed times. Okay, the ideal days in the sense, if I say, okay, one any football match, what is the duration of the football match? The ideal time for the any football match is a 3 hours. But but if we'll see in the reality, right, it's not like that each and every football match will finish within 3 hours. Maybe sometimes it's take 3 or 15 minutes, 3 hours 30 minutes. So what is the reason behind this? What is the reason behind the elapsed time? Maybe there could be so many reasons. Maybe some weather conditions, any players got injured. Okay, any unwanted issues come onto the grounds, something like that. Okay, so that will directly affect your ideal time. Okay, so these are the few interruptions that may occur in your ideal days estimations. The first is supporting the current release. Maybe you're supporting the current release. The sick times, your team member is not well. Meetings, you have so many meetings. Demonstrations, personal issues, phone calls, special projects, trainings, email, review and walkthrough, interview candidates, task switchings, bug fixing in the current releases, the management reviews. So these are the interruptions that can affect your ideal days. Okay, so maybe you should add your buffer, some buffer times while doing the estimations. So we can use the planning paper technique, as I told you earlier that we use the planning paper technique to estimate the user story, which uses the Fibonacci series of scalings. Estimating in story point is often faster than estimating in ideal days. Okay. So generally we do the estimations in terms of story points. Okay, most of the times the story points is equals to 1 days. So okay, so so whenever you are giving, right, any estimation, just in your particular days, right, how so what at all interruptions can occur, based on that you can give an estimation for your user story. Okay, I already have told you, velocity measures the amount of work completed by your team for each iterations. A release burn down chart shows the number of story points or ideal days remaining in the projects of a status of starting of each iteration. So okay, that we'll see in the later. Now, one more things we are going to discuss, what is the factors and feature prioritizations. What at all the factors which we considers while prioritizing our user stories. The product owners on Agile projects are often given the vague and mostly useless advice of prioritize on business values. So most of the times, and this may be great advice at face value, but what is the business value? So most of the times we say, okay, based on the business value, but exactly what do you mean by the business value? How you are going to decide what at all so we are going into the depth to understand what at all the cause and reasons which affect the business values. So that is the first things, what are the financial value of having the feature. The features, whatever we are going to develop, how much is have a financial values, how much revenue it is going to generate, is that is the first priority, but that is a first considerations we should take. Okay, the cost of developing the new features. So maybe the product is having a, the financial value is more, is going to generate a lot of revenue, but what is the cost to develop that product? That is also we need to think about it. The amount and significance of learning and new knowledge created by the developing the new feature. Maybe sometimes the features which we are going to develop is required some new training infrastructures, okay, tools and technology. So that how much times, how much investment is required to that. So that also we need to consider. The amount of risk removed by developing the feature, okay, and how much risk, okay, we are removing to develop these features. So okay, so that is all the things which we need to consider, because most projects are undertaken either to save. Okay, so why now one more thing, just I would like to highlight that why we take a new projects. Either the first reason, either we are saving the money, okay, so maybe whatever the project we currently we have, that lot of manual process we have, and that's we invest a lot of manual effort, and that's just to save those manual efforts. Maybe we are we want we want to automate the process, so we'll save our money and time both. Okay, and second reason why we take a new project is a uh, to generate a new revenue. Okay, that could be the second reason. So okay, so okay, so now the planning. So I was discussing about the, so initially I've discussed why the planning is necessary, why planning gets fails, okay, and how do we measure our user story in terms of story points, and what at all we should consider while estimating our user stories. Okay, and we suggest that don't estimate in the terms of ideal days, estimate in terms of a story point, because story points considers your all the risk involves or the interruptions involves during your during day to day, okay, day activities, what you do, okay, and what do you mean by the velocities, okay, and then I'm going to discuss about the release plannings essentials. Okay, what do you mean by the release plannings? Okay, so the release, obviously everyone knows that release doesn't happens in very frequently, okay, doesn't happen in 15 days or 1 month. Generally we plan the release maybe about on 3 months, 3 month once, or maybe 6 month once. Generally and it's a combination of collections of more of iterations. So the why releases are necessary. If you don't do the releases, right, don't do this, so what will happen generally, will the teams will keep on working on the one iteration to another iterations without any major goals. So okay, so at least in each releases we decide, okay, these all the these are the features which we are going to release to the market, okay, to the customers, and the customer can use those features, okay, and they'll have some set of features which customer can use end to end, and they can give a feedbacks, and then they will have some revenue. Okay, so that's why we do the release planning. And the first, it helps the product owners and the whole team decide how much must be developed and how long that will take before they have a releasable products. Okay, so at least we'll come to know some releasable products. Okay, so at least customer can use end to end. The sooner the product can be released, the sooner the organization will begin earning a return on its investment in the project. So as soon as we release the project, the organization will start earning a money on this, and at least they will come to know how they are doing the progressing, whether developing a right project or right product or not. Second, a release plans conveys expectations about what is likely to be developed and in what time frame. Okay, it helps the organizations into their strategic planning activities. Third, without the concept of release, the team moves endlessly from one iterations to the next. So that already I've mentioned you. Okay. Now we'll see the steps in planning a release. What is the steps which involves to planning a release? Determine conditions of satisfactions. Iterate until the condition of satisfactions for the release can best be met. So what do we mean by the we decides the conditions. What at all conditions should be met to really do a particular release. So if we are able to develop a certain set of features with the quality properly tested or UAT have done, then we can consider, okay, so now this set of features are satisfying these or conditions, and we can go for the release. Okay, estimate the user stories and do in sequence. Okay, so that we prioritize the user stories and do in sequence. Okay, so that are the conditions for planning a release. Select the iterations. Okay, so this is what I'm going to discuss. So how do we do the release planning? So, okay, so we select the iterations. So how many iterations? Maybe within two iterations we can do a release, or we need a 4 iterations to do a particular release. So we select iterations, we estimate the how much velocity do we have to complete it, and we prioritize the user stories. Okay, and then we select the stories and release that when we are going to release the particular select the dates to release that set of user stories. Okay, now next we come to the iterations planning. So as everyone knows, iteration planning means, so iteration plans is created in an iterations planning meeting. So generally we do uh, so if you select 2-week iterations, 1-week iterations, or 4-week iterations, if starting of the iterations, we do a iteration planning meeting. Okay. This meeting should be attended by the product owner, analysts, programmers, testers, UI designers, and so on. An iteration plan can be as simple as a separate sheets or set of note card with one task handwritten on each card. So generally this then the product owner or the manager, they shows the spreadsheets, and that spreadsheets have a duration of the iterations from which to which date, starting and end date. Then the list of user stories. Okay, the owner of the user stories will be mentioned. Okay, and what is the uh, code freeze date and when the UAT is, all those things will be described here. There are two general approaches to planning and iterations. One is the velocity driven and the commitment driven. The two approaches to share many steps and often result in the creation of same iterations plan. Okay. Now the next things come, the iteration planning. Next thing is what should be the how to select the iteration length. Okay, that also the $1,000,000 questions. Okay, the majority of the agile processes and teams using then have settled in on iterations length of 2 to 4 weeks. Generally, 1 week iterations can be very hectic and stressful. The next deadline is never more than 4 days away. Okay. A 4 week iterations, on the other hand, I find the team often has time to investigate and pursue more creative solutions than they may have time with shorter iterations. However, 4 week iteration has a feeling like very relaxed in beginning but more frantic end. I find the 2 week iterations to be ideal. Working on endless 2 week iterations can be a strain on a team because of the constant pressures to deliver and because a deadline is never further away than a next week. So I refer to the cycle of 6 cross of 2 plus 1 techniques, means the 6 2 week cycle followed by a 1 week iteration. So what we'll do continuously, we will have a 6 week 2 week cycle continuously 6 weeks. Okay, and then the next one week, what we'll do, we are not going to complete any user stories. We are just we are going to complete any pending work, like a developer can do their code refactoring, tester can complete their pending automations. Okay, and the business analysis, they can they can look on to the next upcoming features on the next iterations. Okay, so maybe you can have lesser people have some bit relaxed times. Okay, now we are going to discuss on the estimating velocity. One of the challenges of planning a release is estimating the velocity of the teams. You have the following three options. Okay, so how you so now what we are going to discuss, how you estimate the velocity, how you come to what is the velocity of a team. Okay, so they are following things which you can see and we can estimate what that is the velocity of your team. So use historical values. Maybe you can see a past records, means how much what was the velocity of your team. So means how many story points your team has delivered in a past iterations, right? So if you think okay, your team was able to deliver in one iterations, they have delivered 10 story points, another one in 11. So like that you can do the averages, and you can based on that, so you can give some 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 data that okay, your team velocity have a this much, maybe 11 story points can deliver in the each iterations, right? Or maybe if you don't have any historical data, okay, if team is new, then maybe you can run some iterations so you can come to know how many iteration what is the velocity of a team. Make a forecast. Yeah, definitely we can do a fair forecast, and okay, and we can give some range. Okay, so if you think okay, this maybe sprint velocity is maybe 20 is required, you can give some range of 15 to 24. So at least, even though if it is a less or more, it will be adjusted within that the range. So that is these are the ways, based on that you can give estimation of your team velocity. Okay, now the last thing comes tracking, and how you are tracking your tasks, sprint, your release plannings, how you are going to track your iterations, each and every iterations, how you are going to track, and how you are communicating with your stakeholders. But that is because that is also important. It's not that's just a planning. You need to track the day by day activities, how much uh, how much features you have completed, how many hours are left out. Okay, so these are the things you need to track in the day by day. Okay, and iteration by iterations for the release. Okay, and then you need to communicate with the stakeholder, because if you're not tracking, then you'll be end into the very disasters, right? You'll not come to know what is going to be the end, and then definitely you are not going to achieve your goals. So the first time what I'm going to, how to monitor the release plans. Okay, so release plans, definitely you know that the release plan is a collection of sprints. Okay, so different high level managers has to monitor the release plan. So we are going to burn down charts. We are okay, on the vertical axis is going to have these story points. Okay, how many story points is there on the vertical axis, and the and the and the horizontal axis we have a sprint. So it will show that in each and every sprints how many hours has been burned. Okay, so if you see in the pictures, at the end of fourth sprints we have a burned of 700 hours we have completed. Okay, so and these burned out chart we can share with our stakeholders. At least they will come to know what is the risk, whether we are achieving the target, or if we have any risk, how we are going to communicate and how we are going to mitigate. So at least you can say that they can create some mitigation plans. Okay, so in conclusions, velocity measure the amount of work completed by a team each iteration. So each iteration will come to know how many amount of work we have completed. Okay, now the next thing is the monitoring the iteration process. Definitely we need to iteration monitor the sprint also. So here the thing is same here. So there are so many tools are available in the market, like Jira's, Fabro, okay, or and the other so many tools are there which we can use for our tracking or daily tasks. So we have a again burden chart, and the vertical axis we have hours, and the horizontal axis we have a day. So at least we will come to know, and this many days how many hours are left down. Okay, so if you'll see August 9th, now we have only left 3 hours is left. Okay, so okay, so we'll come to know, okay, now we have August 9th and tomorrow is the last day. So we have how many, if we have left more hours, it means we haven't completed our work. Okay, so at least we can come to know the work. We can come to know our pending works, how many work is left out. Okay, using the sprint burn charts. Okay, the last is iteration summary report. So once each and every iteration has get completed, we send iteration summary reports where all the task user stories are mentions, and who is the owner of that that user stories. Okay, the start and end dates. Okay, the button charts and the written, and we can send to the stakeholders. So I think okay, so these all those contents I have taken from the Mike Cohen books, and this book is very good. Okay, agile estimation and plannings, and I found very helpful. So I have, yes, I've gone through, and whatever I have just in nutshells, I have written this blocks, and this box is mentioned in the link of below link in the videos. Thanks. Okay, thank you guys.